Greetings from our channel again. We'll examine all the factors that contributed to the demise of one of the most well-known televangelists. Stay tuned to the very end because you will be astounded by what was disclosed prior to death. Why did Kenneth Copeland become so well-known? Born on December 6, 1936, Kenneth Max Copeland grew up close to an American Army Air Force base in West Texas. He decided to become a pilot as a result of this. Copeland was a recording artist signed to the Imperial Records label. His Billboard Top 40 song, Pledge of Love, peaked at number 17 after 15 weeks of charting in the top 40 on April 20, 1957. After enrolling at Oral Roberts University in the fall of 1967, he quickly rose to the position of pilot and chauffeur. Copeland and his wife Gloria established Kenneth Copeland Ministries in Fort Worth in 1967 following their attendance at pastor seminars led by Kenneth E. Hagins. Texas. Jesus is Lord is the ministry's motto. 6 overseas offices of Kenneth Copeland Ministries are located in Canada, Africa, Asia, Australia, Europe, and Ukraine. He is a preacher of prosperity theology and a member of the Word of Faith movement, which holds that material and financial success are indicators of divine favor and that believers should strive for financial blessings and physical well-being. Giving to the ministry can unlock this, and according to Copeland, parishioners who give to God through his ministry will receive a 100-fold return on their investment. Kenneth Copeland has collaborated and supported numerous prominent gospel ministers over the course of his many years in ministry. Copeland prayed for Reinhard Bonk and supported him during his Fresh Fire conference in 1986. Reinhard Bonk's successor, Daniel Kalenda, claimed that Kenneth Copeland threatened to have Bonk preach to 1 million people in a single day. Copeland's ministry has organized 3- to 6-day conventions all throughout the United States since 1967. In his hometown of Fort Worth, KCM continues to host the Southwest Believers Convention every year during the first week of August. Gloria and Kenneth Copeland also evangelize and preach at different conferences and conventions throughout the world. These events are broadcast live on Christian television networks including God TV and the Daystar Television Network, as well as on Copeland's website, kcm.org. On Sundays, parts of recorded conferences are aired. A member of the Copeland family, either by themselves or in conjunction with another preacher, discusses biblical topics on the Monday through Friday television shows. KCM launched The Word of Faith, a 1-hour television program, on May 27, 1971. The Prayer Group, another television program, debuted in 1972. This half-hour television show was broadcast all over the United States. The Word of Faith, a weekly program, was replaced in 1989 by Believer's Voice of Victory, a daily series. Kenneth Copeland has produced and starred in a number of films, including The Rally, Super Kid Academy, The Mission, and The Rally LA, in addition to their television network and television programs. KCM launched the Believer's Voice of Victory network on Channel 265 on Dish Network in 2015. In 2019, Believer's Voice of Victory network changed its name to Victory Channel, which is accessible via cable and the air. The Believer's Voice of Victory ceased airing on the Trinity Broadcasting Network on October 2, 2020. Under a new channel contract with Olympiazat, which had previously provided the channel space to Hillsong Channel, Living Faith Network, and later Bulldog Shopping Network, it was added to a number of national cable systems at the beginning of 2022. Pastor Gene Bailey hosts the well-liked Flashpoint Current Events Prophecy program on the Victory Channel, which reaches about 11,000 households. Nationally well-known ministry leaders like Lance Wallnau and Hank Kunman frequently appear on Flashpoint. Other guests have included former Israeli Ambassador David Friedman, Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Kenneth Copeland Ministries is situated in Fort Worth, Texas, on a 33-acre plot of land that was formerly Marine Corps Air Station Eagle Mountain Lake, a USMC airbase that the Tarrant Appraisal District evaluated at $554,160 in 2008. The Eagle Mountain International Church, television and radio production facilities, warehousing and distribution facilities, Copeland Family Homes, and Kenneth Copeland Airport are all located on the property. According to data from the Federal Aviation Administration, the airport had 1 usable runway and no aircraft based there as of 2024. KCM announced to the Fort Worth Star-Telegram that same year that it was collecting funds to resurface the second runway for future usage. And it was operating a medical clinic for churchgoers at the old Marine Corps Hospital facility. KCM employed about 500 individuals in 2008. Prior to his divorce from Marty Copeland in 2018, Copeland's son John Copeland served as the ministry's chief operating officer. He continues to advise the ministry. KCM owns a number of business jets, including a 2005 Cessna 750 Citation X that it utilizes for foreign travel and a 1998 Cessna 550 Citation Bravo that it got from a donor in October 2007. The ministry intends to use the Gulfstream V, which was previously owned by Tyler Perry and was being restored as a 1962 Beech H-18 twin, for disaster relief operations. KCM purchased the aircraft in 2018. Eagle Mountain International Church and Kenneth Copeland Ministries own the land where Kenneth Copeland Bible College is situated. The Transworld Accrediting Commission International has accredited KCBC as a member. Kenneth Copeland Bible College established an extension campus in Langley, British Columbia, on August 28, 2003. Copeland and KCM have publicly and vocally supported Israel for a number of decades. Israeli President Isaac Herzog personally praised Copeland and KCM for their assistance of Russian and Ukrainian Jews on August 17, 2022. Along with Christian luminaries Paula White, John Hagee, Mike Huckabee, and others, he was named one of the leading proponents of Israel by the Israel Allies Foundation in 2020. Copeland has been under fire for his support of Israel, as have other Christian leaders including Greg Laurie and John Hagee. Copeland had 3 previous marriages. In October 1955, he married Ivy Bodford for the first time. They separated in 1958 after having a single kid. Then, from 1958 to 1961, he was wed to Cynthia Davis. In 1963, Copeland wed Gloria. John Copeland and Kelly Copeland are their children. Gloria and her husband co-host the Believer's Voice of Victory, the ministry's premier program. Kelly and Terry, Copeland's daughter, both preach across the United States. Terry also serves as a pastor at Eagle Mountain International Church, which is led by her husband, George Pearsons. Copeland has described himself as a very affluent man and has accumulated substantial wealth over his career. He was called the richest pastor in America by the Houston Chronicle, purportedly possessing a $750 million 2021 net worth. Copeland's estimated net worth was $300 million as of last year. During Donald Trump's presidential campaign, Copeland served on the Evangelical Executive Advisory Board. Copeland reiterated that he did not support Trump at the time, and that his appointment to the board was not contingent on his support for his presidential campaign. In reference to Hillary Clinton's pro-choice views, Copeland claimed that Christians who did not support Trump would be guilty of murder before the 2016 election. Copeland said in an interview following a state dinner at the White House that he attended that Trump was guided by the Spirit of God and that the selection of conservative judges will be his most significant presidential legacy. Speaking at a Donald Trump event in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, on November 5, 2022, Copeland said that Trump is the only president he has ever seen who had the red, white, and blue in office. Voting is a sacred trust, Copeland said to thousands of people in Fort Worth, Texas, and online during the 2024 Southwest Believers Convention. As a well-known ministry leader around the country, his political activity has generated both praise and condemnation. However, how precisely did he accomplish all of this? Which lessons enabled all of this to happen? The teachings of Kenneth Copeland. One of the most prominent spokespersons for the faith movement today is Kenneth Copeland. His extensive influence is attested to by his extensive print and broadcast media content, as well as his global outreach initiatives and crusades. Many of the unbiblical teachings of the faith movement were disseminated by Copeland. He misrepresents the biblical ideas of covenant and faith. He elevates man to the rank of God while reducing God to the likeness of man. He reduces Jesus to a positive confessional product who became devilish at the cross. Additionally, he advocates for creative visualization and occult activity. The main causes of Copeland's mistakes are his disapproval of logic, his inadequate interpretation of the Bible, his dislike of theology, and his prejudice against custom. A 25-year-old man who was battling sin, illness, and conflict begged Jesus to enter his heart on the evening of November 2, 1962. 2 weeks after his wife made the same choice, he made his own. These two people continue to lead what has become known as the faith movement while leading a ministry that essentially spans the entire world today. They are Gloria and Kenneth Copeland. This series' first part examined the origins of the faith movement and interviewed some of its most prominent supporters to date. This installment's main focus will be on collecting and evaluating the central theology of Kenneth Copeland, one of the most well-known and esteemed religious scholars to date. Despite being most recognized for his message of prosperity, Copeland started his journey to religious fame from a place of financial ruin. Due to financial difficulties, he chose to return to school at Oral Roberts University in 1967. There, he was hired as a co-pilot on Oral Roberts' cross-country crusade flights. But it wasn't until August 1967 that Copeland's perspective was completely changed by the teachings of another evangelist, Kenneth E. Hagin, who is often considered the founder of the faith movement. Regarding his distant mentor, Copeland has been described as stating that he spent the next month in his garage listening to Hagen's lectures because he was so enthralled with them, even if he learned nothing during his 6 months at Oral Roberts University. In 1968, the Copelands returned to Fort Worth, Texas, and founded an evangelistic organization there. According to reports, their Bible study at home quickly expanded into massive revivals, often drawing audiences big enough to fill entire municipal buildings and international venues. Believer's Voice of Victory, the ministry's own newsletter, was first published in 1973. According to Copeland, 2 years later, the Lord gave him the mandate to preach the unadulterated word on all accessible platforms. He started the Believer's Voice of Victory radio program in 1976 as a result of this. Copeland's ministry was well established enough by 1979 to venture into the television industry, which opened the door for its 1981 foray into satellite communications. The following August, the ministry launched the first worldwide religious broadcast, making history. Copeland is still widely accepted in a variety of Pentecostal and charismatic settings. Numerous Christian retailers carry his books, booklets, and taped messages, and his revivals and crusades regularly draw sizable crowds. Additionally, the ministry's offices in England, the Philippines, South Africa, Australia, Canada, and Hong Kong testifies to its global reach and impact. They, along with his followers, view Copeland as a leading, if not the leading, authority on faith theology, even if not all faith teachers subscribe to all of his ideas. Many have already coronated Copeland as the new king of the faith movement, writes one observer. In a recent article, even Time magazine refers to Copeland as the chief exponent of the faith movement. Of the multiple views of faith held by faith teachers, Copeland focuses primarily on an understanding of faith as a force. Faith is a power force, he claims. It is a tangible force. It is a conductive force. Moreover, faith is a spiritual force, it is substance. Faith has the ability to affect natural substance. As the force of gravity makes the law of gravity work, this force of faith makes the laws of the spirit world function. Copeland affirms that God cannot do anything for you apart or separate from faith, for faith is God's source of power. Moreover, everything that you're able to see or touch, anything that you can feel, anything that's perceptive to the 5 physical senses, was originally the faith of God, and was born in the substance of God's faith. In other words, faith was the raw material substance that the Spirit of God used to form the universe. Copeland adds that God used words when he created the heaven and the earth. Each time God spoke, he released his faith, the creative power to bring his words to pass. Words are spiritual containers, and the force of faith is released by words. Copeland derives his definition of faith from Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. He interprets the word substance as some transcendent, primary element that makes up the universe. It was and is activated by spoken words at the onset of creation. Both God's original creation of the world and all subsequent creations, whether by God or man. Contrary to Copeland's view, the word translated substance in the King James Version is the Greek word hypostasis, which, in the context of Hebrews 11:1, means an assured impression, a mental realizing. Far from being some tangible material or energetic force, faith is a channel of living trust stretching from man to God. It is an assurance that God's promises never fail, even if sometimes we do not experience their fulfillment during our mortal existence. Other translations render hypostasis more precisely as being sure, to be sure, and assurance. Neither the original Greek text nor any of the modern translations support Copeland's understanding of faith. The same holds true for his understanding of spoken words. Besides, the idea of words functioning as faith-filled containers makes no sense if there is no such thing as a force of faith, requiring packaging and transportation, in the first place. But despite how dedicated he may seem in his teachings, Kenneth Copeland was not without his own controversies. The controversy KCM, Kenneth Copeland Ministries. KCM has been criticized for its use of private aircraft. KCM promised from 2006 to 2010 to create an aviation relief assistance program called Angel Flight 44 to help Haiti. A spokesperson responded, this was not a specific promise with a timeline attached, and said that the money was spent on airplane repairs. In 2008, the ministry owned 5 airplanes and continued to purchase more. In February 2007, Copeland was accused of using KCM Citation X for personal vacations. The Copeland's financial records and a list of KCM's board of directors are not publicly available. The information is held in confidence by the Internal Revenue Service. Responding to media questions, Copeland pointed to an accounting firm's declaration that his jet travel complied with federal tax laws. In December 2008, KCM's Citation Bravo was denied tax exemption after KCM refused to submit a standardized Texas comptroller form that some county appraisal districts use to make determinations, which would have required making public the salary of all ministry staff. KCM subsequently filed suit with the Tarrant Appraisal District in January 2009, and its petition to have the aircraft's tax-exempt status restored was granted in March 2008. KCM has utilized an FAA program that blocks enrolled aircraft on flight tracking websites. In 2010, the flights of 5 of the ministry's aircraft were kept private, including the Citation X and a North American T-28 Trojan. United States Senator Chuck Grassley has questioned some of the flights taken by these aircraft, including layovers in Maui, Fiji, and Honolulu. The ministries say that the stopovers were for preaching or for allowing pilot rest. Copeland raised funds for the building of a hangar, upgrading of the runway, and maintenance. Copeland's and other televangelists' use of private jets, luxury cars, and lavish houses has been widely criticized. In 2015, Copeland, in a broadcast alongside fellow televangelist Jesse Duplantis, defended the use of private jets as a necessary part of their ministry. Mike Huckabee, a 2008 Republican presidential primary candidate who made 6 appearances on Copeland's program Believer's Voice of Victory, rented KCM's facilities for a fundraiser, which was criticized by the Trinity Foundation. As a result of the Huckabee appearances, KCM was one of 6 ministries investigated in the United States Senate inquiry into the tax-exempt status of religious organizations. KCM was one of 4 that did not cooperate or volunteer to make reforms. The investigation did not conclude the Copelands had done anything wrong. In 2013, a measles outbreak with 25 confirmed cases in Tarrant County was attributed in the press to anti-vaccination sentiments expressed by members of the Copeland ministries. The church denied making any such statements and urged members to get vaccinations, even offering free immunizations through the church itself. Pastor Terry Copeland Pearsons, who is Kenneth Copeland's daughter, offered free vaccination clinics and advised those who did not attend one of the clinics to quarantine themselves at home for 2 weeks. In a statement on the church website, Pearson said she was not against immunizations but also raised concerns about them. Some people think I am against immunizations, but that is not true. Vaccinations help cut the mortality rate enormously. I believe it is wrong to be against vaccinations. The concerns we have had are primarily with very young children who have a family history of autism and with bundling too many immunizations at one time. There is no indication of the autism connection with vaccinations in older children. Furthermore, the new MMR vaccination is without thimerosal, mercury, which has also been a concern to many. Copeland and his wife were featured in a 2015 episode of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. John Oliver criticized the Copelands for using tax laws to live in a $6.3 million mansion, as the parsonage allowance for their home is not subject to income taxes, for using church donations to buy a $20 million jet that was used for trips to a ski resort and a private game ranch, and for promotion of healing through faith and skepticism of medicine. In May 2019, he received criticism for his lavish lifestyle after Inside Edition released an interview where he defended his purchase of a private jet. He stated, "If I flew commercial, I'd have to stop 65% of what I'm doing," and he additionally defended a previous comment where he said that he did not fly commercial because he likened it to flying with demons. For his remarks on the Joe Biden administration, Copeland has come under fire. During the COVID-19 epidemic, he also garnered notoriety by urging that pastors shouldn't cancel services and by stating repeatedly that the pandemic had finished or would soon end. Copeland delivered the COVID-19 ruling in a broadcast sermon on March 29, 2020. He asserted that it was over and that the United States was now healthy and recovered. Shortly after, he asserted in his speech that he could use the wind of God to eradicate the illness. Even if followers had lost their jobs due to the pandemic's economic effects, he encouraged them to keep giving tithes to his ministry. Even though social gatherings were prohibited to prevent the spread of the pandemic, Kenneth Copeland Ministries conducted the Southwest Believers Conference at the Fort Worth Convention Center in Fort Worth, Texas, from August 3 to 8, 2020. Hundreds of people attended the event, which local leaders denounced, but they were powerless to impose public health restrictions since, according to Governor Greg Abbott's executive orders, religious groups were exempt. Kenneth Copeland eventually broke his silence and made an admission that we were all expecting after such a scandal. Kenneth Copeland gives his own explanation. Renowned televangelist Kenneth Copeland explained in the latter days of 2015 why he requires a high-end private jet in order to carry out his duties. Talking to God on a commercial flight is not possible. Copeland, who was criticized at the time for using ostentatious aircraft, said that without them, traveling for work would be challenging, if not impossible. Invoking his mentor, Oral Roberts, a prosperity gospel preacher, the Texas-based preacher claimed that his spirit was agitated by the unsolicited requests for prayer he received while traveling on public planes. Copeland advised fellow televangelist Jesse Duplantis, "Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons. You can't manage that today, in this dope-filled world." Who, when he asked his fans to fund a $54 million jet, received similar criticism. And it's lethal? Millions of people watched and largely ridiculed Copeland's argument, which did little to strengthen his case because many assumed the demons he talked of were the same people he had solicited funds from. Lisa Guerrero, a reporter for news magazine Inside Edition, approached the preacher to explain his comments last month. Recently, their exchange went viral, rekindling discussions about televangelists and churches' tax-exempt status. Video shows Guerrero engaging Copeland as he got into a car and pressing him on his remarks from 2015. At one point, Guerrero asked, "Do you really believe that humans are demons?" "No, I don't, and you should never claim that I did." Copeland answered, clearly upset. "It has nothing to do with people, it's a spiritual and biblical thing," he continued. "Individuals? I adore people. People are important to Jesus. However, alcohol pushes people. Do you believe that's a suitable setting for a preacher to get ready to preach?" Copeland's Gulfstream V plane, which he declared he had bought from Tyler Perry in January 2018, was the main focus of the interrogation. Copeland declined to disclose the cost of the plane, one of 3 he owns, but claimed Perry made it so inexpensive for him that he was unable to resist purchasing it. He reiterated that his work, which has taken him to almost every continent and enabled him to reach thousands of people with his message, required the plane. "If I were to fly commercially, I'd have to halt of what I'm doing, that's the main reason," he said. Copeland said he was a very wealthy man and acknowledged using the private jets to travel to his vacation homes. Guerrero asked how he would respond to those who say preachers shouldn't live so luxuriously. "They're wrong," he replied. "It's a misunderstanding of the Bible that, if you go into the Old Covenant, do you think the Jewish people believe you should be broke?" Guerrero follows up. "Are you saying that Jewish people appreciate money more?" "They believe in wealth," Copeland said. "Some people would find that offensive," Copeland responds. Before bringing up the Abrahamic blessing, Copeland clarifies, "Wait a minute, I'm not talking about some people. I am referring to the Bible." Copeland uses scriptures from the books of Ephesians and Galatians in his different answers. Oral Roberts, whom Copeland claims received the same punishment for having faith that God would benefit you, is cited once more. Copeland, like many televangelists, preaches the prosperity gospel, which is based on the idea that faith will eventually lead to wealth, frequently in the form of gifts to ministries and preachers. In a 2015 episode of Last Week Tonight, HBO's John Oliver talked extensively about televangelism, or as he defined it, churches that take advantage of people's faith for financial gain. The host demonstrated a clear trend of these TV preachers either buying or requesting money for expensive, high-end aircraft. One such instance was the 2015 mockery of televangelist Creflo Dollar for urging his followers to donate $65 million for a Gulfstream G650. According to the Washington Post, Dollar stated that in order to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, he needed one of the most opulent private aircraft available today. Oliver also included a video of televangelist Mike Murdoch, who boasted to his audience about having paid cash for 2 Cessna Citation planes during the episode. "And since there's so much jealousy in this room tonight that I can feel over this, a few weeks later I brought myself another one worth 3 times what that one was," Murdoch said. He paused before appealing to the crowd, "Act happy over my blessing, folks." Then there's Duplantis, who asked his congregation for $54 million to buy a Falcon 7X jet last year. It would have been the 4th plane added to Duplantis' fleet, all paid for by his loyal congregation. These preachers claim the jets are essential to spread the good word, and Copeland is no different. Texas-based Kenneth Copeland Ministries could not be reached for comment Monday. A blog post on its website titled "Glory to God. It's ours. The Gulfstream V is in our hands," shows the preacher standing next to his sleek new plane in a bomber jacket. He thanked donors but wrote there was more work to be done. The jet required $2.5 million in upgrades, as well as a new hangar, runway renovations, and special GV maintenance equipment. "The Copelands, the KCM staff, the leadership team and I are pressing for your harvest and our harvest as a team," the post reads. "Let's be aggressive in our harvesting, giving, and faith." Guerrero said in an interview with Copeland last month that both of her grandfathers were poor preachers who were deeply outraged by people who profited from the practice. Copeland said he was standing on the shoulders of Guerrero's grandfathers, whom he loved. However, he remarked, "The Bible is rich when you go back to it. It is also brimming with goodness, miracles, signs, and wonders." And it's rife with cruelty. Hell on earth is all over it. Not the humans, but the devils. I adore the folks. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe and like it for more incredible videos like this one. Tell us in the comments section below what you were most looking forward to. See you in the upcoming video.